This is iUniverse Radio. iUniverse Radio is brought to you by iUniverse, the leading book marketing, editorial services, and supported self-publishing company. iUniverse Radio is produced by TogiNet Radio, on the web at toginet.com.
The title of the book, Life is Not Complicated, You Are. Turning your biggest disappointments into your greatest blessings. And the author is Carlos Wallace, and Carlos joins us now on iUniverse Radio. Hello, Carlos.
How you doing?
Great to have you with us. This is the kind of book that just is uplifting. It just kind of cuts through a lot of stuff, a lot of baggage we haul around, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Well, you say this about your book. I wrote a book that will dispel any doubts, any concerns, and every fear that you may have about the state of your life. With every chapter, your confidence will swell, your self-awareness will evolve, your anger will subside, and I think this is most of all, the most important, your fears will disappear, and you will know that you are stronger than any challenge. Well, those words are well said, and this is really what you're all about. This is your whole life, isn't it?
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
I mean, you walk the talk.
And I think that's what it has to be about. It's not just a book. It's the example of who I am as a person, as a human being, and very proud of it.
Well, tell us a little bit about your background, Carlos, and then why this book came about.
Well, I'm an East Texas boy, born in Athens, Texas, actually, and raised in Jacksonville, fifth-generation railroader, and currently a Union Pacific engineer, and also manage comedians. I've been a part of productions that involve Montel Jordan, Cedric the Entertainer. I produce shows in Houston, Atlanta, New York, and also Los Angeles. And I was asked to write a book. But my social media following is pretty big, and I'm encouraging with my words on Facebook and Twitter. And after quite a bit of encouragement, I decided to put it on pages and put it in a book. And I really like the way the project turned out, and I'm excited about it, sharing it with the world.
Life is not complicated. This is first, as you put it, in a series of literary empowerment projects. I like this phrase, transfer of strength. What do you mean by that?
Well, it's taking your life back and giving yourself the power, looking in the mirror and saying the only competition is the person you're looking at. And just eliminate any of the doubt and fear and whatever competition you think is before you. The only competition is you. And so it transfers that strength from the unknown back to the individual.
Why don't you want to describe your book as a self-help book?
Because I feel like I'm not really qualified to tell anyone how they should live. You know, I just wanted to give an example of the things that I overcame. And there's 13 chapters, and I feel like anyone, be it young, old, any ethnicity, gender, can find something in one chapter or several that they can relate to. And I'm not telling them how to live. I'm just giving them the example of what I use to overcome the adversities and challenges, and hopefully they will be able to relate and do the same.
And you use your grandfather, who was a fascinating trailblazer in his own right.
Yes, sir. And an honorable man and very good someone to look up to, him as well as my father.
Now, you share his challenges and victories throughout the book. Could you, as well as your mother and father, could you give us an example?
One of the biggest challenges is my grandfather. I saw an admirable act by him one day. He was a justice of the peace in Anderson County, first African American in history. And before him was a young man Caucasian with I think it was a speeding ticket or a minor in possession alcohol infraction. And I saw him show this young man leniency. And one thing that concerned me, that I was very puzzled, was he had gone through the civil rights movement, the Depression, and every reason to be angry at people of non-color. And I asked him about it. I said, how is it you can come to make a fair judgment? And he said, because it's not for me to judge man. I leave that up to God. It's up to me to stay between the lines and abide by the law of the land and administer accordingly. And I don't think I felt the real understanding at the time. I may have been 21 or 22, but as I grew older and hopefully wiser, I grew to understand what he meant by that. And basically he was saying, I'm not holding all of my past, whatever happened to me, against this young man that's before me now and ruining his future. He's starting today, and every day you have the opportunity to be a better person. And that's what I took from that. And it was such a release of things that may hold you back in regards to anger for someone else for what you think they may have done to you in your past. We have to let that go if you want to continue moving forward in a prosperous manner, be it mentally, financially, spiritually. To grow, you have to let that go. And it was just a great act that I saw him in the public eye. Of course, I see him in private every day, but that was one in the public eye that really, really made me feel good.
Well, it really demonstrates his true character. Your book is filled with chapter titles that are very interesting. The first one, Genesis, where you talk about my life must speak for me. Give us a little bit more on that.
Well, Genesis is a very interesting chapter. My mother was a basketball player in college, an All-American basketball player at Trinity Valley Community College. At the time, it was Henderson County. For those that are from the 70s, they would know that. But she was 5 months pregnant and did not know it. And she was leading scorer in the game, and a close-knit game. She scored, I want to say 28 points, and she delivered me about an hour later. Oh. And it was a shock to everybody. and in reading it, you don't even, you kind of feel it throughout the read, but toward the end of the chapter is when it starts to come to a realization, like, oh my God, it wasn't a cramp, or it was something much bigger. And that alone told me that there was a purpose that I needed to fulfill, and it was my genesis, my awakening, and it was time for me to set out the journey that I was meant to set out. And long after I'm gone, my life should still ring bells and still speak for me when I'm no longer here to attest to the things that I've accomplished or the changes I've made when I was here on earth.
Legacy is very, very important to you.
Extremely. Extremely. One of the biggest things missing in today's society is the father in the home. Even some that are physically present aren't really mentally or spiritually